I'm Berta Sabrio, the Executive Director of the Columbia Orchestra, and I'm here this morning with Chris Cicconi to hear the method behind the music. We're going to hear a little bit about why he selected his programming and how he feels about the possibility of conducting the Columbia Orchestra. Chris, we know that you have a wife and two sons, and you love to hike, and you're an avid fan of Angry Birds. We're so happy to talk to you today. What else should we know about you?
Well, honestly, what else should you know? I mean, you covered all the bases. Just briefly, I'm currently here. I'm in my 9th year as a professor of music at Towson University, where I conduct the band, I conduct the orchestra, and I do student-teacher preparation. So essentially, I get kids ready to go out and become band and orchestra teachers. And I think the other thing that's important is I like all the wrong sports teams for living in Baltimore, being a Yankees and a Steelers fan, but I'm working on that. And so there's always room for improvement.
Chris, what do you see as the main responsibility or the role of the conductor?
You know, there's conductor. I think the word conductor works really well with conductor, director, educator, leader. And so for me, the first thing I think the conductor really needs to make sure that they are doing is installing or instilling a wonderful culture in the ensemble that they conduct. They're making positive relationships with the musicians, fostering a fun and nurturing environment. With all of that, though, being said, we also want to focus on musical excellence in delivering a really wonderful product. And so I think if you marry all of those together, you have what, in my opinion, would be one of the biggest responsibilities of a music director and a conductor.
Why did you choose the music for the program?
No, that's a great question. And repertoire choice for me is the most stressful, but it's also what I'm most passionate about being a conductor. So whether it's band, orchestra, or whatnot, you have to choose the music that best fits the group that you are working with. I don't think there's any other way to do that. And so I go to Columbia Orchestra concerts a lot, and I went to most of the concerts last year and over the last few years. And I listened, not knowing that this position would be open, but there's wonderful players in here. And so when I was charged with the task of choosing a program, it was exciting and terrifying. And so I had to find music that fit that orchestra and fit the players to the best of their abilities, and choosing music where they would be the most successful in. Also with the fact of, like, are we choosing some diverse music? And so, are we choosing music of underrepresented composers, which this concert has all of that. And so the first half is all contemporary living composers. But we also need to celebrate the classics in the older masterworks. And so the whole second half, which includes the mammoth Scheherazade, features some wonderful players in the orchestra, from clarinet to bassoon to percussion to trumpet to violin. And so, I didn't choose it for me, and I told them this. I chose it for them. They deserve to play this music. I think it's great music. They haven't played it in the last 5 years, and so it's all about them. And through these rehearsals, they're really doing a great job. And so I cannot wait for people to hear it.
Chris, this year we are returning to some pre-concert events. We have called that season theme this year In the Box. It's going to be held in the Black Box Theater, the mini theater, right off the Jim Rouse Theater's lobby. We really see this as a great opportunity for all of our conductors to be in a closer space with our attendees and have a chance to share information about themselves and about the programming. So I know that you have been preparing for this. What are you thinking you're going to talk about?
So concerts, in the art of music making, I feel like is a highly collaborative event. And so this In the Box thing, I think, and when I was listening to you all talk about it, and then when I've been doing my research, I think it's a brilliant idea for people from the Columbia Orchestra, and most notably the music director and the conductor, to not only build relationships with musicians, which we do every Monday night, and through the concerts. But this is a real chance for us as a conductor to build a relationship with audience members. There's so many times there's kind of like this barrier, it feels like, between the audience and a conductor and whatnot. And that barrier just needs to go away. And so this in the box moment that we're going to do, I cannot wait. I'm going to talk a little bit about the music. I'm going to talk a little bit about me, but I'm going to also ask questions to people that attend. And I hope there's a lot. With regard to, what do you think about classical music? What do you think about the Columbia Orchestra? What kind of things would you love to see them do? If there's a piece of repertoire that you would love to hear, I think that's great. It would be really awesome for people to recommend. I would love to hear the Columbia Orchestra do this piece. So it needs to be sort of a highly collaborative, intimate presentation. But presentation is kind of the wrong word, but just a dialogue between people that attend and then the conductor. And so there's a lot of like everyone's heard at that. And so I'm looking forward to, and I hope people come with ideas and with an open mind, so we can really work well with one another.
That's great. We're excited about the program too. If you want to attend that starts at 6:30 before the concert on concert nights.
Come talk to me.
Chris, what do you think the future holds for orchestral music?
Great question. Orchestral music has been around forever. And so the future of orchestral music or orchestra concerts, there needs to be sort of a relationship between contemporary music and classical music. And these concerts need to be accessible to all audiences. And so if you think about a young aspiring musician, hearing a Mahler symphony, is that going to be appealing to them? Is that not going to be appealing to them? And so finding music throughout a concert that relates to all audiences, I think is really important. So are we doing maybe some soundtrack music? Are we doing some musical things? Hamilton, for example, was a big hit. And so doing some of that music, audience members are going to want to come and hear. People like to come to things where they know some of the music that's being played and music that they can relate to. And so finding those relatable pieces where you can really attach to today's audience, I think is really important. And then you can surround that music with things maybe that they haven't heard. And so we're inspiring them, we're engaging them, but I think also just as important, we're educating them on, here's some other things that you may not have ever heard. Here are some composers that you may not have ever heard. And now they're going to go home and listen to that. And I think all of that in making those concerts a thing where people can come and enjoy themselves, hear music that they know, hear music they're excited about, but also hear new music that they haven't heard before, where they can open their eyes to something new, I think is really important. And orchestral music, I think, has to help us sort of push that movement forward to get people coming to concerts and having a great time and really enjoying themselves.